Great. So thanks everyone for joining. So this is a quick sync to hopefully discuss a proposed option for the mixed deployment pipeline reorder. So Alessio, I'll let you take the first part.
Thank you, Amy. So we started writing this kind of extract of what can cause a mixed deployment failure. So I would not go into detail because I saw Zeph commenting there and already created an issue. So we just wanted to point out that compared to the use case that we identified in starting this effort, there are many other which may be harder to identify in the beginning. So we just want to raise awareness about what can go wrong and other point of interaction where a multi-version deployment can cause a failure. Here there is a list. I would not go through it. If someone has a question, I will be happy to answer them, even in the issue that Zeph opened. So it's just that everywhere there is a process and then a process boundary, there is an opportunity for a problem during mixed deployment testing. So that's it. Next is, let's say, Amy.
Yes. So we have a proposal. Let me actually share the screen. So we've come up since between my scheduling of this sync and us actually meeting today, we've come up with a hopefully improved proposal, which I think we believe from our modeling covers all the kind of use cases and concerns that were raised in the issues. Let me share my screen. And then
thanks for the detailed visuals. It helps digest.
This was started off as a personal thing, and I was like, my brain cannot comprehend this much information. So we started modeling it out. So Alessio and I spent quite a bit of time on Friday coming up with sort of a new option 4. But Alessio, do you want to give the overview of this? Because I think you've kind of internalized this the most.
Sure. Okay, so we would just describe option 4. So the idea of option 4 is that we still do a reorder. And basically, we want to have the first deployment happening on staging canary, where we, after this deployment, we can run QA both in the mixed environment, because we have a staging environment, which is running the same version that we have in production main, as well as we can run, let's call it a full QA. By full QA, I mean, right now we have a QA run at the end of staging. But because we have control over the cookie, we can just force this to only run on staging canary so that we have the same end result. There is a key bit here that probably this was important to say ahead of time. So in production, we use canary as a way to diminish the blasting radius of new changes, because we have a small percentage of traffic that goes to canary. And so this is help us identify errors without affecting too many users. What we want to have here in this proposal is the flip side of it. So having a bigger canary in staging that amplifies errors so that we can spot them ahead of time, and having a smaller production, staging main, just for the effort of making sure that we can run mixed deployment tests. So just as a visual, consider that if we do 5% of traffic in production canary, I will expect having 95% of traffic routed by default on staging canary in this environment. Okay, so at the end of staging canary, we can run QA, both mixed and something that just targets the new version. If QA is good, then we can go straight to production canary, run QA as well. At that point, we can run the main stage in parallel, both staging and production, so that they were kept in lockstep. In order to do so, then we, because there was the problem of post-deployment migration, that we don't want to roll them out in production without actually testing them before on staging. So when both staging and production main are deployed, we can hook into the post-deployment migration run, which in our own schedule, so as a delivery team, we are planning to remove from the deployment. So this kinds of help us because we are condensing all the post-deployment migration together, because then we want to move them on a different schedule. But so the takeaway here is that it solves the problem because we are always testing multi-versions compatibility with the two versions that will be running in production. Obviously we have both existing tests plus the new mixed deployment tests that will give us what we are aiming with this effort. And then we have also the benefit that post-deployment migration are pushed at the end of the pipeline, which will allow us to roll back if we have problem, let's say with post-deployment migration in staging, will allow us to roll back production. Because the point of no return for us for rolling back an environment are post-deployment migration. Before we run post-deployment migration, we can roll back. And this is kind of almost in line with the mindset that we already have in production, where we first have a canary environment and then we have the main stage. But instead of having the deployment in sequence, when we are just adding extra time to the pipeline, we will end up having the same time spent on deployment that we had before introducing the new staging canary environment, but with the extra insurance of actually having it and being able to run mixed deployment QA. On top of that, maybe it was too much, but on top of that, we are also hoping in the future to evolve our ability to spot error. So one signal will be the QA, the smoke test. Another signal will be the QA in the mixed deployment. We hope with this effort to be able to add a third signal, which is basically the SLO metrics from the new staging environment, which is where we can basically compare staging main with staging canary. So if any of the mixed deployment use case that we haven't tested yet, if we are running QA on it, they will just generate errors. And so having a spike in errors could be something that we say, maybe something is wrong here. Let's stop this build for a moment and try to figure out what's going on. Okay. Question?
Cool. I think that makes a lot of sense, putting a lot of the load and hardship up first. So we want to test it first, right? And you only need a minimum number of traffic you only need a minimum number of traffic being on the other version. So the current, sorry, we call it main. There's no M in GSTG. So having some nomenclature that helps. So the old version, the previous version, minimum traffic on stage, main staging, and then the bulk of the hardship that we want to test on canary staging. That makes a lot of sense. The concern I have from a high level view, and if you show this to customers, they would ask, are we deploying to G staging and G prod at the same time?
We are, but I think the reason but we're not deploying to G staging at that point for a testing point of view. So I think perhaps the way I'm thinking about this is G staging canary, G prod canary, and G staging all remain pre-deployment environments. But the only thing that we really need to control is the package that we have on G staging. So G staging is our sort of control environment that we will test against, which is acting as production ends up acting against G prod canary. So all of the same testing that we do at the moment, with the addition of the new mixed deployment tests, would still happen on the three environments. We just control at which point we actually do the deployment to G staging. So we perhaps for marketing and kind of like external views, we'd probably need to try and show this as there's probably a separate view of maybe like a testing flow or something like that, because we still would do exactly the same as what we're doing right now. We just, the only thing we're changing is we don't, for staging, we wouldn't do a deployment and then a test run. We would be doing a test run and then later the deployment version gets updated. And what that gives us the benefit of, I think slide 19 kind of shows this the best. So what we need to be able to control is around steps 2 is kind of the one that the key step, where what we want to end up with is the canaries and the main stages plus the database remaining consistent. Whereas if we continue with the pipeline as we currently have it, where we do a staging canary plus staging and then gprod canary, we kind of step through it, and that's where we start to get particularly the database less representative.
Okay, can you please go back to 17?
Yes.
I think this sounds good. I would like to see more visibility on what actually happens between 2 and these 3 boxes. Can you go to 18? So I just created this on the fly. Is it more like this, where it's actually a dual track of the staging and prod, and then we are like, this is probably like closer here, right? You want to shorten the time. And having an actual visual on what the time frame is helpful for me, and maybe it's this is what we are doing, but shows the clarity in the environment tracks and how it lands in production. And if something happens before production by maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes, that helps us understand if we have enough window to revert things or stop things going wrong into production from an objective perspective. The key is we're preventing issues going into production, and it should be done in the namespace of staging. And be it if we're catching most of it in staging canary, that's great. And then minimum time in G staging main. So the 3 here is probably, hopefully it's like 5 minutes or less, key to our efficiency. And when this signal is really close, or we know that, we deploy to G, we flip the 90% traffic to gprod.
So staging and production would be in parallel, and that would be important because we wouldn't want to upgrade our staging environment, like our control environment, until the point where we also know we want to upgrade our production environment. So that's at the point where we sort of conclude the testing round and we upgrade everything and move on to the next version. But what we could do here, maybe to make this clearer, is add in, so what we've shown here is just the stages through the environments, but perhaps what we could show is actually the flow of events and compare those. So for example, right now we do deployments and then we run certain test suites and we have baking times. And the only thing that's changing is which environments get hit between all those things. All of the same control gates are still in place with the same durations, but we could certainly map that out. The only thing that will change is nothing particularly changes, actually. Because one of the bits that we perhaps didn't mention was that at the moment, GStaging Canary is a fairly lightweight environment. We don't particularly gain anything from a like users using that environment. Like staging is a fuller environment. What we would do is build out GStaging Canary to be a full environment. So developers needing to test things could fully test things on GStaging Canary, as well as kind of running QA suites and things. So what we would actually end up doing is kind of repurposing a lightweight staging environment and make it a bit more dedicated to guaranteeing us we have the right package to be able to test against.
So if I could just make sure I understand too. So the way I see it is GStaging will now almost always be a mirror of production. That way we always have this stable environment where we can test any other changes that we would introduce that would come up through GStaging Canary now instead against a true production-like environment. same package level, same everything, which is the piece that we're missing. Whereas if we would update G staging before gprod, then we would end up missing out on that. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
So G staging is like our always stable way to test against production, right? Because G staging is essentially the same thing as production. Maybe not as beefy, but has all the same packages and everything.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Could you please clarify, is there a case where for some reason staging and production will be out of sync and will have different versions still?
Yeah, this could happen basically every day, because we do automated promotion up until production canary. So with the current workflow, we do staging canary, then we do staging main, obviously, and then we do production canary. So, and then there's baking time and manual promotion. So if for any reason a package is not promoted, there's no release manager around, or there are incidents or things like that, this will never reach production, and then we will start rolling out a new package. So in that sense, you will have a staging environment, staging main that received the package that never went to production. And this will create that out of sync situation where we were testing multi-versions compatibility between something that will never be the state of the production environment as production canary and production main. To cover Mac point of the trying on creating a window of time where we are still able to spot, to say, last moment errors. We can talk about timing here, because staging right now takes around 1 hour to deploy, kind of. So even less. I'm expecting that if as staging is, I would say shrink down, not really shrink down, but you get the point that bulk of the traffic goes in staging canary. So staging main has less load on it, so will be faster to deploy. And this will basically give us an opportunity to run post-deployment migration on staging and a full QA run. Basically, at that point in time, we will still be in the window of the production deployment. So it kind of give us, those two things doesn't overlap, because one takes longer. And so even if we get some problem at that point, we will still be able to stop the deployment, roll back the package, or try to figure out what we want to do.
Yeah, that would be helpful. I think there's some, if it's 60 seconds or 5 minutes, that's different, right? Because when you go to our customers, we're not telling them that, hey, you are getting the same changes in production at the same time we deployed to staging. That is a wrong perception to set to our customers, especially when they're asked. I'm being asked by my customers, how are you testing it? How you ensure that we don't get the changes after the fact, and you are asking us to test it. Those are the common themes as we go into maturity. So even though it's 60 seconds or 5 minutes, that matters. The slight change of we are objective, we test before our customers, and then we ensure it's ready before we release it to the whole world. That's where we're going. I think that would be helpful. I think we are moving along the same direction together. I understand the challenges of having to make this more efficient and faster. Yeah, go ahead, Amy.
I mean that's was almost sort of a secondary benefit actually when we worked out the new order. Actually, the challenge that we're trying to that we really need to manage here is the controlling which packages are on which environment and being able to guarantee those. And also be able to recover, because say we do, once we've run post-deployment migrations, we can't roll back. So there are kind of constraints as well as we just want it to be fast. Like it should be safe as fast as possible, but also, representative of what we're trying to do to production.
Got it. Yes, I understand that. And when I mean like the slight time differences and we're creating a space for us to reverse or revert, that falls all in. We should be able to accommodate all that and do it confidently while guarding it.
We can certainly put some, I mean, there will be, like Alessio said, there actually will be some time on staging, difference between staging and production, but we can work that out. We could guarantee that there is it would be multiple minutes. So we could guarantee there is always like 10 minutes or whatever an acceptable.
We can delay the trigger. I mean,
exactly,
we can just write the pipeline with a 5-10 minutes delay in the trigger, and that's guaranteed to be delayed by the staging job. I want also to point out something here that maybe may help you in driving that conversation in general, regardless of the delay and things like that, is that because we have control over this, the cookie routing, what we will be able to do here at the GSTG canary stage is running a full QA smoke test first only on the new environment, which gives you the same end result of running the QA after the canary deployment, the staging main deployment, because you are just saying, I want to see how the new code behaves. So this is my QA suite is the only thing that I know that I can test. And I'm just telling you to run only on the machine that are upgraded. And because this new environment will be a full environment, so he will have a prefect, we'll have Gisli, all the components in there. This will cover the package.
Okay. How hard is it to make these changes? I think we have to go try it out, and I took just a few after the event and picking a time where we're comfortable doing the rewiring. Is it easy to change things around in case we encounter gaps and things that we need to
let's assume so. Yeah, I think that's right. Like what we'll do is we'll do this reordering from within delivery, so that we it will be most likely Graham actually to work out projects. So we'll have someone who understands kind of the intricacies of deployments. We'll do the ordering, and then we can work really closely with Zeph or whoever else we need to actually check that we have all the testing that we want to have in place and monitor deploys. But absolutely, if we need to change stuff, we can absolutely change it later. Okay.
And to help all of us communicate this out, is it helpful to draw something like this? Ideally, right, this is where we want our confidence to be. And pardon me while I pick some better tone. But this is where we want the confidence to be. If things go in here, we are 100% or even 110% confident that our customers and enterprise customers on production is not going to run into any issues. And the reason why we're doing this rewiring is because we are front loading the hardship up front. So is it something that we could say that when things flow into box 1 and box 2, we are like 80% confidence that if nothing happens in box 1 and box 2, 80% confident that production is going to be okay. And then when box 3 lands in, that feels, the reverse of the 2080. It's like, okay, those are the edge cases. We tried our best. And then when this is done, we are 100% confident that 4 is going to be the greenfield. Does that speak to you?
That does make sense. There's also another box that you can draw, which is around, 5 is kind of a safety belt around 6. Because right now, this is our alignment that we have in delivery, is that we are considering post-deployment migration as a separate type of deployment, because the code is designed to run without post-deployment migration being run. This is how we operate daily. So we want to move this into another deployment pipeline, but this is another big topic that is outside of this conversation. But the point is that this reordering will give us the confidence that if something goes wrong in 5, it will not affect production. And we will still be able to ship a package that fixes the failure on 5 and make sure that we don't taint the production database with a failed post-deployment migration until we are sure that post-deployment migration are fine on staging as well.
Okay, cool.
One little caveat I would like to add though is the number is certainly very high, but I don't think it's 100%. We still have the problem of the limitations of the staging environments. We still have the data problems. So I think that this changing this order and adding these tests certainly removes like a fairly big risk area that we know of, but I don't think it eliminates all risk areas.
Yeah, there will still be unknown unknowns of these.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. And I think some of I think it'll be a case of us trying to categorize incidents into things like mixed deployment and then work out like where was the gap, like what's the thing that we need to like modify or improve to change to try and eliminate them.
Yep. Okay, cool. Yeah, if we can align on this and outline this as the confidence boundaries, say maybe 99.5 or 90% confidence that 4 it's going to be okay. And then the 5 and 6 is its own separate one. If we do that, then that ensures that 6 can run fine in production if we need it. So yeah, I think it makes sense. We should go with it and iterate. I'll lean on your team to provide the actual details of what these lines are, and pick a time where we can do the migration together and communicate to the rest of the team.
Great. Okay, excellent. What I'll do then is, I think you're right, Meg, like 18 is a more accurate representation. So we'll rework the diagram to show the kind of the ordering, and we can add the timings and try and make it a little clear as well about the activities that are taking place as well in amongst these boxes.
Yep, I appreciate it. It matters. If you show 17 to like our customers, they will question, what are you doing? Why are we getting the same change at the same time you are?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair.
Cool. This is great. Thanks for the clarity.
Awesome. Thanks very much, everyone. What we'll do is next steps, we'll draw those things up, and then Zeph will catch up with you like async if possible or sync if needed, and just make sure we kind of know what next steps we need to do for the tests as well.
Awesome. And if you can share the recording in the Slack for Vinci and Tanya, that'd be great. Sorry, Zeph, go ahead.
We do that.
Yeah, no, I was just saying thanks. And Alessio, that list that you gave, Mech, you challenged me earlier with the question, what's the one test we could run? We can't run one test to cover everything, but Alessio, you've even uncovered a few areas that I didn't consider. So if you take a look at that issue, I think our approach will cover certain items, and I think maybe we might need to brainstorm on some additional tooling for better targeting between the two possible packages in a mixed deployment.
Cool. Iterate. Oh, if it's just one test, I'm cool with that. Let's start with one test and iterate. Okay. All right. I need to run. Thanks all.
Very much,
Great conversation.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.